Good morning, everyone. It's Pastor Jim Hammy for Summit God in Burlington, Kansas. So good to be with you. This week I'm going to be talking to you about Camp Almost. I mean, how many times have you gone through life and you were just about almost to do something and you hesitated? I remember I was talking to a gentleman one time and he was telling me that he bought a new house, and I was like, really? That's awesome. How cool is that? I says, well, that is something you can't take back once you sign the papers. And he just looked at me, he told me, he says, just watch. And within 24 hours, he had returned a house. I've never met anyone in my whole life who had bought a house and then returned it. He was almost there. He almost bought a house. He almost committed to that. But then a couple weeks later, he bought a house. But the fact is, sometimes we get to the point of almost in our life. And this week I want to talk to you about going beyond the almost. Listen, let me just begin with this. How many of us have fallen victim to the almost syndrome? Listen, you know, it's when you have a bad cold and you almost make it to the store before it closes. It's when you find a video that you rented 2 weeks ago and you almost returned it. It's when you almost invest in a stock that quadrupled in the last 2 weeks. Or it's when you almost remembered your anniversary. You almost took the chance and then you just go ahead and fill in the blank for yourself. See, most of the time, the almost syndrome adds up to no more than a little inconvenience. Menial monetary loss, or an uncomfortable night's sleep spent on the couch, or rethinking the priorities of your life. However, I want you to look at this simple biblical passage that is really going to talk to you about the almost syndrome will cost you greatly. Listen to this. In Acts 26, 24 to 32. Listen up. And then I'm going to pray, and then we're going to talk about it tomorrow. At this point, Festus interrupted Paul's defense. "You are out of your mind, Paul," he shouted. Your great learning is driving you insane." "I am not insane, most excellent Festus," Paul replied. What I am saying is true and reasonable. The king is familiar with these things, and I can speak freely to them. I am convinced that none of this has escaped his nose, because it was not done in a corner. King Agrippa, you do not believe the prophets. I know you do. Then Agrippa said to Paul, "Do you think that in such a short time you can persuade me to be a Christian?" Paul replied, "Short time or long, I pray that to God that not only you but all who are listening to me today may become what I am, except for these chains." The king rose with him and the governor and Bernice and those sitting with them. After they left the room, they began saying to one another, "This man is not doing anything that deserves death or imprisonment." Agrippa said to Festus, "This man could have been set free if he could not appeal to Caesar." See, am I talking about, here's this man who didn't understand the value of advanced planning. When it came to his own soul, he was a perfect example of what Christ was talking about when he said, "For what profit it is to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul?" Matthew 16:26. He had almost everything: riches, almost had power, almost had control, almost had prestige. But he neglected making a decision on the most important thing, his eternal decision. And so as we jump into this next week, I want to encourage you, I want to challenge you that think about where you're at. Are you almost there? Are you almost really desiring a commitment with Christ? Or are you ready? Have you committed your life to Christ? So anyways, this morning, or I'm just going to pray for you, and then we're going to get into this week. Lord, I pray that you bless every single person. I pray that you give them a great day. I pray that you encourage their soul, that you continue to pour out your Spirit upon them. But most of all, I pray that you give them the opportunity to share the gospel with somebody this week. In your name, amen. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.